as part of our season for nonviolence. It was in '98, Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, founder and director of educational services for the Center for Nonviolent Communication, made a visit to the Monroe Correctional Complex. Rusty Thomas, an inmate at the time, was taken with the potential for improving his own life and the lives of many others. Over the next several years, Rusty worked on a program, and on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, 2001, Freedom Project was officially launched. From their website, we read, Freedom Project interrupts the cycle of incarceration with programs that provide healing, connection, and restorative communities for participants both inside and outside prison. Our programs support incarcerated individuals and those recently released through the practice of nonviolent communications, mindfulness, and equity. Our values. We are grounded in the belief that all human beings are precious and have a place at the table. We believe in the power of compassion as a healing force on the planet. We value mindfulness as a way of living so that we act with intention and care. We value commitment and contribution. It's through giving to something beyond ourselves that we create meaning in our lives and express the fullness of what it means to be human. We are committed to integrity in all dealings and will make decisions based upon principle over personality. We're committed to addressing institutional racism and all forms of oppression, and we are guided by the belief that it is our differences, such as race, class, gender, sexual orientation, faith, or whether or not we have served time in prison, that makes us strong. It's this ability to hold differences with compassion and understanding that defines us most deeply as an organization. We dream of a world where each person is held in the circle of humanity, where every individual experiences a deep knowing that all members of the human family belong to and are connected to each other. We dream of communities and nations dedicated to nonviolence as a sole force for the healing of all relationships fractured by injury, violence, anger, and mistrust. Freedom Project offers a new vision of what is possible. How about that? We have two people who are here to speak with us today. What an honor it is. What noble souls they are. I know your welcome will be rich. These are people who continue to plant new yeast. Will you welcome, please, Casey and David?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Oh, the gift is ours. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Freedom Project. Tell us about Freedom Project, please.
It is a dis-ease that is contagious, where we are uncomfortable with how our nation has built a criminal justice system on slavery and racism. And you heard about our founding. We are currently in 7 of the 14 prisons in Washington State that the Department of Corrections runs. We have approximately 70-some volunteers. By the way, our dream is to be in all 14. That'll come. We're growing. I'm busy about it.
We are good dreamers.
Yeah.
We are good dreamers.
I know.
We will support you.
Yeah. I wrote a prayer request at the last service for that very reason.
Hold on.
Because it was there.
Hold on.
Good. We're ready. It's a learning community. Yeah, it's a community that has changed my life. I've learned more inside prison about this work than I ever dreamed possible. And I'm accompanied here by a companion who can speak really from his own experience.
Hello, how everybody doing?
Hi, David.
Yeah, I'm formerly incarcerated, and the reality is, I know it's tough for some people to see, but everybody in there has trauma, experienced trauma, come from horrible life experiences, upbringings, toxic family dynamics, and it's like that's a recipe that breeds bad choices, right? And so you make these horrible choices from this horrible place. And when a person is deprived of compassion, love, never seen a healthy relationship in his life, right? And you got all these things mixed together, that's the end result. And for me, it was like it's like in philosophy, right? In philosophy, they say that if all you seen were black crows, you can make the assumption that all crows are black, right? But if you just see one white crow, right, then you know for a fact all crows aren't black. And that's what it's like. It was like you have this negative, jaded view of the world, and you have to make horrible choices. Like you have to. And so you have this horrible, jaded view of the world, and the Freedom Project was like my white crow, right? It changes your paradigm. You can't unsee compassion, right? You can't unsee empathy. It's something when you experience, you know it's real. Then going forward, you can't pretend like it doesn't exist anymore. And so you can't use the lack of it as justification for making bad decisions going forward. So it's transformative. I've seen it impact a lot of people. It's impacted me, but I've seen it impact a lot of people. And part of doing the work, it kind of, especially when you come through those type of circumstances, and then you feel the love and the compassion and the empathy, you want to give it back. And that's been kind of my inspiration. All our inspirations is to give that back and hopefully show people compassion in a place where they've never seen it before, and hopefully show them empathy, and maybe they can use that as a tool or as a means or the impetus for them to change their lives and do better, or to be the best versions of themselves. And that's what I really appreciate about the Freedom Project. It's built on that premise. It's built on connection. And it's a negative environment inside the system. And it's like a positive place that you could be connected in a place that's full of disconnection, right? And so it's kind of a beautiful situation in a bad situation. And it does great work. And I appreciate the fact that they not only helped add value to my life, but they put me in a position where they allow me to give back. And so that's probably the most important part, is now I could be a part of the solution. And giving back, and y'all know, I mean, it has its own kind of transformative effects. They said if you want to teach somebody something, if you want a person to learn something, have them teach it. And so if you want a person to have something, have them give it, right? And so when you give compassion, it just have a transformative effect. And I really believe that I'm better for it. And, I really appreciate this opportunity.
We appreciate being with you. It reminds me of a story in which yeast is planted and it goes forth in powerful ways to ripple out and touch lives well beyond our own. It's like that story, really. There we go. And you are a volunteer-run
organization, and
completely full. No more room for volunteers. How am I doing?
You missed the mark.
Missed the mark.
That leaven was old. No, I love the image of Freedom Project as part of God's reign. I love that. I think that's excellent. As I said, we're in 7 of the 14 prisons. We'd love more volunteers. We can always use that. We can always stand behind the kind of restorative and healing prayer power that communities like this can give us. I think what is sustaining is the circular model that David was talking about is, you know, the more one gives, the more one receives. And, you know, it's like, it is like a unity, to coin a phrase you all know. And we always welcome that. We do really good trainings that will enrich your lives, whether you want to be part of us or not. That's not a condition. We just like to share how we're learning. We have two preliminary trainings. One is just the introduction. The other one is a wonderful teaching on mass incarceration and anti-oppression, because that's the lens we use as we look at what would racial equity look like, not only in our world, but behind those walls. So, yeah, come on along.
We
We'd love it.
stand with you.
Thank you.
I understand you've brought some complimentary materials that you will be available at the Welcome and Information Station for any who would like to engage you in conversation or register to stay in touch. Is that correct?
Please.
What else would you like us to know today?
I shared a little bit about my experience, and I would say that, you know, like what Freedom Pro talks about, the compassion and the empathy and the connection is that I think it's important to know that there's a whole segment of the world population that doesn't have it, right? And it might be hard, especially if you come in where you've had it and you've taken it for granted and you believe somebody has somebody, a mother, a brother, somebody. And the reality is, it's heartbreaking when you see that that's not true for everybody. You know, that some people haven't had these things. And when you see that part of people and you start to understand how it's conceivable that they make horrible decisions, right? It's hard to see it from far away, and you see it, you just see the bad decision. And it's easy to make judgments and stuff like that. But when the reality is, when you see the history, the story, the reality is people, when you come up without light, without faith, without all these things that keep us full spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, it's easy to self-destruct. And so all I would say is, just like the Freedom Project is a white crow, your compassion can be a white crow for somebody else. Regardless if it's in a program setting, if it's at church, or if it's at the grocery store. Compassion, empathy goes a long way. And I promise you, the people will appreciate it, especially those that I know society believes might not deserve it, but in most cases, or in all cases for the matter, they need it the most. So,
David and Casey, we're honored by your presence. We thank you, we align with you, we stand in support of you. We are a community that moves fences further out and builds bigger tables. We build bigger tables. Will you thank them for being with us this morning, please? Wow.